Welcome to you. For hearing my story, I never thought I'd find out this way. I'd heard stories, sure stories of people stumbling across something on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter that shattered their world, but I never imagined it would happen to me. It started innocently. Enough I was scrolling through my feed one evening killing time before dinner when I saw a photo that caught my eye. It was a picture of my wife Emily at what looked like a small gathering. She was smiling, holding a glass of wine, and seated at a long table surrounded by people I didn't recognize. The post was from a mutual acquaintance, someone we didn't see often, but who occasionally tagged us in group photos. The caption read, "Another wonderful night with great friends re-dart." I wouldn't have thought much of it except for one detail. The man sitting next to Emily had his arm draped casually around her shoulders. She leaned in close, her expression relaxed and happy, as if this were the most natural thing in the world. My stomach twisted. Who is he? And why did they look so comfortable together? I clicked on his profile. His name was Andrew, and I didn't know him, but his profile was public, and as I scrolled through his posts, I saw more pictures, photos of Emily and him together at the same gathering, sometimes at events she had told me were work, rated in one photo. They stood side by side, arms around each other, grinning at the camera like they were on vacation. My chest tightened. She had never mentioned him, not once. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they were just friends. Maybe this was all perfectly innocent. But the more I looked, the more my doubts grew. There were too many photos, too many moments that didn't make sense. And then I found the common thread. Under one of the photos, someone had written, "You two look so good together." Smiling face with hard eyes. Andrew had replied, "Thanks, I'm lucky to have her," and Emily had liked the comment. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I set my phone down, staring at the screen. This couldn't be happening. Not to us, not to the woman I'd married. We'd been together for years, built a life together, talked about our future. She wouldn't betray me, she couldn't. But the evidence was right there, staring back. Me, I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I started digging deeper. Over the next few days, I kept an eye on her social media activity, looking for patterns, for anything that might confirm or dispel my fears. I noticed she was tagged in posts from places she had never mentioned, visiting people I didn't know, commented on her photos with inside jokes I didn't understand, and Andrew was always in the mix, liking her pictures, commenting with flirty emojis, and sharing posts that she would quickly respond to. It was like I was piecing together a puzzle, and the more pieces I found, the clearer the picture became. Emily was living a separate life online, a life that didn't include me, and Andrew was at the center of it. The breaking point came when I saw a video someone had posted. It was a short clip of a group toasting at a party. In the background, I saw Emily and Andrew. He had his arm around her waist, and she was laughing at something he said, her head resting briefly on his shoulder. It wasn't a long moment, but it was enough. Enough to confirm what I had been dreading that night. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I waited until she came home, her phone still in her hand, her face glowing from whatever she had been watching or reading. "Emily," I said, my voice trembling, "need to talk." She looked up, startled. "What's wrong?" she asked. Setting her bag down, I held up my phone, showing her one of the photos. "Who is Andrew?" Her expression changed instantly. She glanced at the screen, then back at me. "He's just a friend," she said quickly. "What's this about?" "Just a friend," I repeated, my voice rising. "A friend who puts his arm around you, who calls you lucky, who you go to parties with while I'm at home." She stepped back, crossing her arms defensively. "You're overreacting. Those are just photos. They don't mean anything. They don't mean anything," I said, feeling the heat rise in my face. "Then, why didn't you ever mention him? Why is she in every post, every comment thread, acting like you're together? Because it's not what you think," she said, her voice trembling. "It's not. It's complicated." "Complicated?" I snapped. "You're married. There's nothing complicated about being honest with your husband about not sneaking around with another man." "I wasn't sneaking." she shouted, tears welling in her eyes. I didn't mean for it to look like this, but it does. I said, my voice breaking. It looks exactly like what it is. You've been lying to me, Emily. You've been living another life, and I had to find out through social media. She covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking, as she began to cry. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't know how to stop. I stood there staring at her, feeling a mixture of rage, betrayal, and overwhelming sadness. This was the woman. I loved the woman I had trusted more than anyone. And now that trust was gone. Shattered by the likes, the comments, the photos that had exposed a truth I hadn't been prepared for in the days after her confession. I couldn't even look at her. I moved into the guest room needing the space. To think, to breathe. Emily tried to talk, tried to apologize, but her words felt hollow. I'm sorry was a reminder that she had chosen to keep me in the dark while sharing pieces of herself with someone else. I felt like I was living with a stranger, someone I no longer knew. I turned off my social media accounts. I couldn't bear to see the comments, the pictures, the little glimpses of her other life. The more I thought about it, the more betrayed I felt, not just by her, but by everyone who'd seen those posts and said nothing. Friends who had commented on her pictures, acquaintances who had liked her smiles next to him. They had all watched this play out in real time, and none of them had thought to tell me it wasn't just my marriage that felt broken. It was my entire sense of trust. Emily begged me to go to counseling. I'll do whatever it takes, she said one night, standing in the doorway of the guest room. Her voice was trembling, her face pale. I know I hurt you. I know I was wrong, but I want to fix this. Please. I didn't respond. I just turned over facing the wall. I didn't know if I could ever forgive her. I didn't even know if I wanted to try. Eventually, I agreed to see a counselor, not because I thought it would fix things, but because I needed clarity. I needed to understand how we'd ended up here. The sessions were tense and raw. Emily admitted to feeling lost in our marriage, like she was just going through the motions, she claimed. The attention from Andrew had made her feel alive again, like she was seen. But what about me? I asked, my voice cracking. Wasn't I enough? Did you ever think about what this would do to me? She cried, nodding, saying she'd been selfish, that she'd made a terrible mistake. But her tears didn't heal the wounds, they didn't erase. The images seared into my memory, the photos and comments that had revealed a side of her I'd never known. It tried to move forward, but every time I saw her pick up her phone, my stomach turned. Every time she left the house, I wondered where she was going, who she was. Meeting the trust was gone, and without it, I felt like I was drowning in doubt and suspicion. I began to realize that no amount of counseling could bring back what we'd lost. The breaking point came one night when I woke up and found her phone buzzing on the nightstand. I couldn't stop myself. I picked it up. There were no new messages from Andrew, but seeing her lock screen, her apps, her notifications sent a flood of anger and sadness through me. This device had been the portal to her secret life, the thing that had allowed her to hide so much. I put it down and walked out of the room, out of the house. I needed air. I needed to get away that night. I made my decision. I told Emily I couldn't do it anymore. I've tried. I said, I've tried to forgive, to move past it, but I can't. Every time I see you, I see what you did. I see the lies. I see him. I can't live like this. She broke down, sobbing, pleading with me to reconsider. But I knew in my heart it was over. The person I thought I would spend my life with was gone, replaced by someone I couldn't trust. I filed for divorce the next day. It wasn't an easy process, dividing our lives, our finances, our home. It was painful, messy, and exhausting. But with each step, I felt a little lighter. I moved into a new apartment, started focusing on my own well-being, and gradually began to heal. I reconnected with old friends, found new hobbies, and allowed myself to look forward instead of back. Emily tried to out a few times, sending long emails and leaving voicemails. She said she'd cut all ties with Andrew, that she was still going to therapy, that she was working on herself. But I didn't respond. I had made my decision. I needed to move on to build a life where trust wasn't just a word but a foundation in time. I found peace. I started dating again cautiously and met someone who valued honesty, who made me feel safe. It took a long time to open up to trust again, but I eventually learned that not everyone would betray me. I found a partner who treated me with kindness and respect, someone who didn't have another life waiting in the shadows. Looking back, the discovery on social media had been a cruel twist of fate, but it also revealed the truth, forcing me to confront the reality of my marriage and make a choice for myself. I chose to leave, to rebuild, and to find happiness on my own terms. In the end, that decision led me to a life that felt genuine, secure, and filled with the kind of love I had always deserved. Thanks for watching.